The film begins in the 1970s, outside an army base. We hear the voice of a narrator saying that her name is Suizi, and she's going to tell us a story about her old army performance troupe. She tells us that she is only a side character in the story, and the hero and heroine are Liu Feng and He Xiaoping. We see them on screen, running through the rain towards the base. Liu Feng tells Xiaoping that her mum wants a photo of her in her army uniform. We also learn that Xiaoping's father has been imprisoned for political crimes. Inside the base, rehearsals are in progress. Once the practice is finished, the performers rush to say hello to Liu Feng. The troupe's director introduces Xiaoping to the group and asks her to demonstrate her ability. Whilst performing, she is distracted by some girls making fun of her, and she falls over. Later, she collects her new things, but she is told that she will have to wait 2 weeks for her uniform to be ready. She then goes to her dorm, which she will share with 3 other girls. Huang Xuan, the head of the dorm, makes it clear that she doesn't like her. Later, in the canteen, Liu Feng cooks noodles for Ding Ding, one of the girls who shares the dorm with Xiaoping. He also gives her her old broken watch back, which he has fixed himself. Later in the dorm room, the girls discover Ding Ding's uniform is missing. We see Xiaoping is wearing it and having her photo taken. The troop suddenly receive orders to leave the base for a field exercise. On the way out, the girls see Xiaoping's photo hanging in the window of the photography shop. When they return to the base, the girls confront Xiaoping about taking Ding Ding's uniform. They search the dorm and find the photo. They then threaten to report Xiaoping for stealing the uniform, but Ding Ding stops them. The next day, at the shooting range, we see Suizi trying to flirt with the troupe's trumpet player. She clearly has a crush on him, but he doesn't seem entirely interested. Sometime later, they are back in the base, having fun in the swimming pool. One of the girls discovers a heavily padded bra hanging up to dry on the clothesline, and they all wonder whose it is. Later that night, Xiaoping is in the practice room, training alone. Back at the dorm, the other girls notice that the padded bra is no longer hanging on the clothesline. When Xiaoping returns to the dorm, they accuse her of wearing the bra. They try to search her, but the director comes and stops them. In the next scene, the commissioner interrupts a rehearsal to announce the passing of Chairman Mao. We hear Suizi's voice telling us that that was a year of big events which led to great changes that affected not only the country, but also the lives of ordinary people like her. She also tells us that that year Liu Feng injured his back when he was sent to help fight floods, and so, no longer able to perform, he became an odd jobs man at the base. Sometime later at practice, Xiaoping's partner refuses to dance with her, saying that she smells bad. In the next scene, we see the commissioner talking to Liu Feng. Liu Feng has decided not to go to the military academy, but instead stay at the base. The commissioner tells Liu Feng that Xiaoping's dad has died and asks him to tell her. Later, Suizi goes to see Liu Feng, who is building some armchairs, and he asks after Ding Ding. Xu Wen shows the other girls clothes her mum has gotten from Guangzhou.
活脱一港星。
穗子当了7年没屁股的兵，今年终于有屁股了。
小好，你这都从哪儿弄来的呀？
这是我妈去广州军区出差的时候给我买的，那儿的高低鞋全是港货。
真的？你说这世界真是变了。
One of the soldiers brings a tape player and plays some Cantonese pop music. It is the first time the girls have heard such music. Later, Liu Feng is in the girls' room, and he can't stop listening to the tape. He asks Ding Ding to come and see the chairs he has made. Liu Feng tells Ding Ding he turned down the place at the military academy because he wants to stay at the base to be with her. He then declares his love for her, grabs her and hugs her. Some other soldiers see them. Back in the dorm room, Ding Ding tells the girls what happened and cries. Later, Liu Feng is interrogated about the incident by his superiors. It seems Ding Ding has accused him of trying to unclasp her bra whilst he was hugging her. Liu Feng is reassigned to a timber unit, far away from the base. Xiaoping visits him in his room. She is obviously unhappy about him leaving. Sometime in the future, the troop is in the mountains, where they are to entertain soldiers. The main performer falls and hurts her knee. The director tells Xiaoping she will go on instead, but she refuses. She claims to have altitude sickness. The commissioner knows she's faking her illness, but takes her to the stage and tells everyone she will perform despite being sick. After the performances are all over, the commissioner announces that, because of her health problems, Xiaoping will leave the troupe to become a field nurse. She seems happy. It's 1979, at the border with Vietnam, and we see Xiaoping getting off a truck with other soldiers and helping to set up a field hospital. In the next shot, we see the field hospital in chaos, full of severely injured soldiers. Xiaofeng is also at the front, leading a group of soldiers to defend a caravan. The soldiers are ambushed, and a brutal shootout begins. Xiaofeng leads the men on a charge towards the enemy, and is eventually shot in the arm. Xiaoping is tending to a severely burnt boy when the field hospital is hit by a shell. She jumps over him to protect him from falling debris. In the next scene, we see Xiaofeng walking to an army base. He only has one arm. He goes in and we learn that Xiaoping is there. She has been recognised as a war hero for her work at the front, but she has lost her mind. Xiaofeng goes to see her. He tries to talk to her, but she doesn't respond. A year passes and we see the director back at the base with the troupe. There are rumours the troupe will be disbanded. A boy runs into practice to say that the trumpet player, the boy Schweitzer has a crush on, has been hit by a car. Schweitzer runs to see him and finds his front teeth have been knocked out and he won't be able to play the trumpet again. She gives him some jewellery to sell to pay for false teeth. In the next scene, the commissioner tells the troupe that that night's performance will be the last, and that the performance is for wounded veterans. Xiaoping is in the audience. She watches the performance and it makes her remember her old self. Later, the troupe are packing their equipment. Schweitzer leaves a note in the trumpet player's case. Xu Wen then tells Schweitzer that she has gotten together with him. Schweitzer takes the note back. Xiaofeng returns to the base, but finds it is almost empty. He bumps into Schweitzer, who tells him she has been accepted into university in Beijing. In Schweitzer's room, Xiaofeng steps on a broken floorboard and finds, hidden underneath, the ripped-up photo of Xiaoping in her uniform. 10 years pass, and some of the girls reunite in Haikou. They meet at a bookshop where it appears Schweitzer is doing a book promotion. Outside, Xu Wen notices someone riding a bike with one arm. We see it is Xiaofeng. He goes to a police station to try to get his truck back, which has been confiscated. The police won't speak to him unless he gives them a bribe. They then demand a very big fine which he can't pay. They throw him out, and Xu Wen sees him and helps him. In the bookshop, they all talk and catch up. Xiaofeng is in Haikou to try to make some money. It seems he isn't doing very well. Xu Wen shows Xiaofeng a picture of Ding Ding, who is in Australia. She is put on weight, and the girls think Xiaofeng will no longer like her, but he smiles at the photo. It's 1995, and we hear Xiaofeng's voice reading a letter to Xiaoping, saying he will meet her in Yunnan to visit the graves of their old war comrades. After visiting the graves, they sit in the train station waiting for a train. Xiaoping asks how Xiaofeng has been, and he tells her his wife has left him. He then gives Xiaoping the old photo of her in her uniform. She tells Xiaofeng that the day she went to see him in the base, before he left, she wanted to ask him for a hug. He puts his arm around her and she smiles. Schweitzer's voice tells us that they parted ways at the train station and didn't see each other again for 10 years. But in 2005, Xiaofeng became very ill and Xiaoping nursed him back from the brink of death. They never got married nor had any children, but they treated each other as family. Schweitzer says that the whole group reunited in 2016, but she won't show us their aged faces. Instead, she will allow the screen to show only their youth in bloom. The film ends. One of the standout things about this film is the physical ability of the actors. Films featuring complicated dancing or acrobatics often rely on the use of stand-ins or clever editing to hide the inability of the actors. In Youth, however, we get to see many brilliant performances in full view delivered by the main cast themselves. This adds not only an element of realism and believability to the film, but also makes the dance scenes very enjoyable to watch. This was possible because the majority of the cast were trained dancers who graduated from the Beijing Dance Academy. Despite being dancers rather than seasoned actors, they perform well throughout the film. The standout performance is given by Huang Xuan, who plays Xiaofeng. He does a fantastic job of portraying the character's transformation from young and idealistic to middle-aged and jaded. By the end of the film, the difficulties of the character's life appear almost visible on his face. Miao, who plays He Xiaoping, gives a solid performance overall. However, there are scenes which are slightly overacted, such as those when the character is mentally ill. I found the colour palette in the way that colour is shot to be very interesting. Contrasting and complementary colours such as reds and greens feature strongly. However, they are not striking and bold, but rather quite subdued. The use of colour actually reminded me slightly of the way Wes Anderson uses colour in his films. Something that seemed not quite right about the film was how clean and well maintained everything appeared. Whilst the army is famous for enforcing high levels of tidiness, it nevertheless seems unrealistic that everything would be so immaculate. All the characters are likewise impeccably put together and very attractive. Moreover, like the environment that they inhabit, they are always, even in their free time, neat and tidy. At first, I just thought that this was unrealistic. However, there is another way to interpret it. The film is not simply a story unfolding on screen. It is a story being told in retrospect by one of those involved in the events. It is Suizi's memories of her youth. We all know that we look back with rose-tinted glasses, and we tend to forget many negative things. Perhaps the always clean, tidy environment and universally attractive people we're seeing aren't meant to be entirely realistic depictions, but rather representations of Suizi's rose-tinted memories. The tone of the film shifts dramatically when the characters find themselves on the front line of the war. The battle scenes leave nothing to the imagination, and whilst Xiaofeng and Xiaopeng are shown to be heroic, the film absolutely does not try to glorify war or ignore its horrors. This sudden change is jarring, but adds an important dose of somberness and stops the film from being overly sentimental. The film takes place during one of the most dramatic periods of China's recent history. Yet to a large degree, the events of that era are just background to the film. The film makes no attempt to analyse, explain, or reflect on the important, often world-changing events that are taking place. I think that this is because it is a character-driven film, and the focus is on the individuals and their thoughts and feelings. In some ways, the thoughts and feelings of the characters could seem petty in comparison to what is going on around them. But for the characters, they are of the utmost importance. And I think that this was a very interesting angle for the film to take, and also makes the film more relatable. Anyone who has made it to late adulthood has almost certainly lived through some world-changing events. But when we look back on our lives, it is rarely such things that come to our minds. Instead, our memories are of our friends and family, small mistakes we've made, and even smaller achievements. Unfortunately, as a character, Xiaofeng does at times seem somewhat two-dimensional. He is almost too perfect. The only time which we see him doing anything that is even slightly morally questionable is the brief scene in which he hugs Ding Ding without her permission. But because his feelings for her are never explored, or even discussed, rather than adding depth to Xiaofeng, these actions just seem oddly out of character. Another small criticism would be that, despite being over 2 hours long, many important events happen off-screen and are summarised with just a few lines of voiceover from Suizi. As the film takes place over more than 2 decades, there is of course no way that all important events could be given screen time, but nevertheless, it does feel rushed in parts. I wasn't alive during the time in which most of this film is set, and I didn't go to China until many years after the events which are depicted on screen. Yet despite this, I found that I connected very strongly with the film, and it invoked in me strong feelings of nostalgia and melancholy. I think that this is because, whilst the details of the film are very particular to a certain time and place, the film's themes are much more universal. To me, the film is about aging and trying to accept the loss of youth, looking back on your life and realising, whether good or bad, it is gone, and it exists now only as imperfect memories.